I think I should listen to this when I start work for the day, because it just signals like you're gonna do UXy stuff now.
You're doing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. LinkedIn has something wrong. Oh no, it's okay. No, it's good. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
Because they're always kind of messing up your life, those guys.
The weather. Are we on Twitter? It's scheduled. Okay, good. Next stuff. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I was on a video. Hey, Kira, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, buddy.
Like you didn't have any meetings today.
Yeah, we haven't been blomping for the whole day.
That's good. We have great conversation. People are great.
Agreed. Yeah.
We need people.
Yes. Okay, I'm getting into where I need to be. Advanced filtering in a data table.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wow, we've done a lot. Are these all ones we've done?
Yeah, I think there's a couple missing.
Okay. I guess there's been a lot of weeks, a lot of time since we started doing this.
Well, there are 4 weeks in a month, and we
52 in a year, so we've... I don't even want to think about that. That's wild.
That's a good thing that we love doing that, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Tell me a good excuse to be a nerd on TV. and I'll do it.
Making good TV, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would we?
Am I allowed to sip, or not?
Yeah,
I'm not allowed.
No, you do. But
Okay.
the problem is, that's exactly. I did that at the beginning, you know, just sipping my coffee while you're, thinking things like that, but it doesn't sound good at all. So let's do that for the next 4 minutes until we start. So let's go.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, look at this. This is my art that you think is dumb. I put it on the wall.
Not dumb. I've never said it's dumb.
Well, you know what I mean. When you're like, I just don't get it with blah, blah, blah. I'm like, don't get it.
I'm just making good TV show. But yeah, so you can vacuum it, right?
I can vacuum it. It has its own comb. If you want your own, check out the promo code. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just kidding. I'm not promoting it. I just...
Hey, sorry.
It's how I calm down during the day. That's what I'm going to try for the next week.
Brushing, touching your...
Yeah, just take a break. Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, just that. No, Alfonso Maldonado is saying hi, big fan.
Oh, hey.
Hey, hi, man.
How's it going?
Mm-hmm. So please, if you don't agree with whatever we'll come up with, well,
yes.
Don't say anything.
Please don't say anything. Right. Troll us as required, as you feel. Exactly. I mean, ask us why'd you do that, or
what,
etc. You know what I mean. Oh God, full of beans today.
Full of beans. That's a saying that I don't know what it means. Well, I know what it means, but I don't understand the...
I wonder where it came from, actually. It's one of those ones that would be worth looking up. And I wonder if they have it in more languages than just English. Because they don't have it en français. So
the phrase originated in Europe in the 14th century when horses were fed with beans grown solely for fodder. What do you mean fodder?
As fodder.
So after feeding the horse, the owner often noticed that the horses became quite energetic and lively. Oh, it's a horse full of beans. Oh.
That's so interesting. So it's when you get hyper.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the something. The blood's running through your veins.
You
You're
don't want to say
excitable.
drugs. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, that's good. I love when you have a good origin story for these idioms that aren't depressing or like weird. You know what I mean?
I mean,
You
I
know.
love collecting them by them.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Um, are you ready for a problem of the week? Yeah,
I'm ready.
let's do the music because it's not serious with music.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you gotta.
I'm sorry. I need a cough button somewhere. Okay,
Did you
so
say a cough button?
yeah, well, it's a cough button. Yeah, you
I
do
like
have
that.
that when you're in your radio. You can just hit it and you can cough without,
Oh, okay. Okay.
it's a cough button. The mute button is a cough. Anyway,
Oh, I love that.
um, so let's take a look at this advanced filtering. I think it shows it just for the name, advanced filtering table. And say, I'm pretty sure here we'll just love it, and me also, and say, oh, just okay. Let's. Oh, sorry, I have a problem with something.
It's both of our loves
Okay,
coming together.
yeah, absolutely.
Data tables and filters together,
No,
which they really should come together.
so,
You know?
can you do a table without a filter? Is it allowed? Is it?
It's allowed.
It's allowed.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's
it is.
allowed.
It's allowed. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's a big problem, and who sent that user 80595? What's a robot? Okay, robots and this thing. So it's a big problem. Let's figure out what it is, and
Okay.
let's do it. So I have another table that's slide over. Okay,
That's on slide over.
that's on slide over. What do you mean? It's like in a drawer or something.
I guess.
Yeah, fixed to its bottom. Okay. I need to advance a filter of the for example, okay, well, drug. I want only the drug that with the exact amount of aspirin. I want drugs that contain aspirin. I want drugs, both lisinopril and aspirin. I want drugs with the same name. Okay, so we can talk about it. Okay. Also, I want easily back to default, clear. Okay, or deselect. Okay, back to default. That's smart. And there's a technical restriction that's why I chose it. It should be a pop-up or dialog window or something that full screen. So the filtering has to be not full screen. Why? I don't know.
I think it's the whole view. Has to be. I think that's what it means. I don't know.
Oh yeah. The table should be in a pop-up, or the filter should be in a pop-up. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So.
Okay.
So here I've done some more, but of course it doesn't seem a perfect solution. I can only add drugs one by one. Okay, so you're searching, add, selecting, add, selecting, add, selecting, add. Got it. And then, okay, that's his solution. So he's clicking on a column, inputting a drug, and then adding it as a value of his query, and then adding one by one. But it's getting a little bit more complicated with the ends and or and what if and if then and whatever. So I think we understand the problem quite well. Let's write the problem statement. What's the real? Let's state the problem, what it is. What do you think?
As a drug user.
We have
Oh,
to-
sorry. I had to do that. I can't
Um,
be stopped sometimes, so I'm sorry.
As a user of heavy drugs, for real, it looks like you have patience and you have problems. Well, if you have patience, you have problems.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
yeah. And then you need to find what exactly. Drug used by patient by code. So it's a user of a. So if it's in a pop-up, what do you think? There's what's in a pop-up on top of what? A list of a workflow, an action.
Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, maybe it is a workflow kind of situation. You know how we have how we looked at a confidential project recently where there were sort of a workflow and people were bringing in snippets from academic articles and things like that.
Oh, this project. Yeah.
This project. maybe maybe it's kind of like that sort of thing. Maybe you're finding you're in a in an actual page doing stuff, and this thing pops in as reference information or
Fringe.
something that you're gonna put in to the page that you're working on.
Yeah,
That would be kind of my guess.
It
I don't
doesn't
know.
feel that I can do actions here. Just look out for some.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's true. We don't really have any. We're not really seeing actions on the. It could be a visual scanning sort of use case as well.
It's a reference.
Reference, yeah,
it's
that's a good way to
reference.
to
Okay, so-
word it. Yeah,
So there's something as a user of a
drug database.
well, maybe not a drug database. It's about I feel it drug
It's
is
clinical something.
as
Maybe a clinical product. Like
product.
half of this is just making it up.
Yeah.
Is what we have to do with these problem statements, but still.
Would be fun, by the way, to have question in Stack Exchange where we have an idea of what the user is.
Yes. So please bring those to us and we will solve the problem.
Okay.
And we won't have to make so much stuff up.
I want to get references while I'm
doing stuff.
Is it doing, you think, or just looking at? Make an assumption.
Looking at stuff.
Looking at stuff so that I can have a better understanding of what I'm looking at. What's the benefit?
I would say you'd probably supplement. Maybe a word for that would be like supplement my understanding or something like that.
I can my understanding. Are you getting away? Okay, so augment, supplement. Is it supplement? Enhance, maybe? Enhance my comprehension.
Enhance could be nice, yeah. Or what did you say? Augment? Augment seems like a word that's cool to say right now.
Like
so we can make it cool.
As I'm looking at things so that I may enhance. So the goal here is I'm trying to understand something and I need some inputs. And some inputs has to be in a data table, but I do need to filter them out because it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe that.
So should we have something a little bit more that hones in on how specific that needs to be? Like you need kind of contextual. You need to reference stuff, but like in a contextual way that fits in with what you're looking at.
So I need that. I don't need to filter. Filter is just what I will do. That to acquire contextual reference. Am I splitting here?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think it's good because it's like the contextual piece says the specificness of what we're trying to
filter.
Get across, right?
Good. So I already have a pet peeve here. You know what it is. Can you say it? Just
a pet peeve. I mean, I probably would be sort of editorializing and saying what my own is, but it's weird so far.
It's weird.
There's something about well, let's get into our next step, right? Like, so we talk about I name this differently every time, so I'm sorry. Assumptions, thoughts, approach, etc. So what are some of the things going through your head, I guess, just to kind of start us off with?
Well, starting from the first lines, I want this, or I want that, or I want this and that, and just this, and specifically that. For me, it's a query builder, a small little query builder.
Yep.
Feel like that, the classic if then or search Google with plus and or things like that. So it's a query, it's and need some kind of a syntax, kind of a
Yep.
language, because I could be visual, but I want this, but not that, or only this and that. So this is a query builder, and it's by columns. That's
Yep.
and I'm not sure if it should be, and if it's just the way that the table is is, and the filter of all the tables is in the column, like the classic material design columns, where you go filter a column right away and you don't have a filtering option. So is it by column? I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I think if you were going to be very specific about when to use column filtering and when to not use column level filtering, um, my trigger for that would kind of be how advanced the filtering is. Like that would kind of be the thing that I would be like, because it's way different to like go onto a column level filter and be like one of 5 choices, blah, you know. But when you're getting into if then and complex logic, that's usually when the most kind of efficient way to do it, or like the least to you the least to the one that takes up the least real estate or UI, sort of falls on its face a little bit. So I would say that might be what's happening here. But maybe for the other like filters and stuff, the columns, it worked really well. But now it's kind of one of those ones that it's becoming power usery.
Power
So,
using it. And it
yeah.
would be strange to have different queries that together, and just well, no, it could be done. It's not impossible, by the way. Material design is doing something like that. You can say I want column that contain this word and this word, not this word. But the problem here is you don't have a great feedback of every query that you send. It's very hard. You have to go to a column and say what did I did and change it, and now you can pop up. So it's kind of hard.
And you're gonna pop up, yeah.
And you're gonna pop up. So feel weird. And you have to go back to default. What that default mean? Or clear, that's okay, but the user, whatever name it is, set default. So that's, I'm not sure what it means.
I think they mean like clear all. I think that's what they're talking about.
But maybe the difference is I already context. No, is it back to default or clear select? No, you're right. You're right. I deselect. Okay, right. What else do we have here?
I was just gonna grab an example or two.
Please.
As well.
If it's in a pop-up, for me, I would look at as a mobile type of experience. If it's in a pop-up, it has to be. I don't know where I'm going with that. It's moving my mindset.
How do you do a mobile table? Let's not do that question today. You know how we have 4,000 words written on data tables?
Yeah.
That's not really something we talk about in it because it's
How do you approach that, by the way, when you say, let's make it responsive, let's make a big data table complex data table responsive?
I mean, I think this is the same advice we have in the article about data tables. I don't know if everything is in there, but my go-to, I've got a few. Is there an opportunity to show a card view? That's
change
one.
The view. To change the view.
Change the view into a more appropriate for mobile situation. I also would suggest full screen mode. So, the old switcheroo.
Well, you need more real estate. That's
where you need
more real estate.
Yeah, you need like landscape for a table. And then what's my last one? Like good use of like fixed columns
Mm,
and stuff. Columns and rows is something else that I'd suggest too, because you need to scroll. So you need to have some amount of fixed things so that you can keep your context on like the row you're looking at, or whatever the
mm.
case is. It's really hard. Like
It's hard because yeah, it's very hard. And when we're talking about data table, we can have this debate of, what columns we should display by default.
yes, that's a good
And,
one.
and most of people
Yeah.
say, what about giving them everything and leave them to, filter out the column that they don't want? And it's a bad good idea.
It is a
uh,
bad good idea. I think that's true.
because that's not your role. You're giving, you have, as a designer or as a team, to help users and not just give them, it's like, here the library, go read any book you want, all yours.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's true. Here's the library. Go read any book you want. This is
Go.
exactly what you should want because it has everything.
And yeah, that's why we have a Google search with one field, to help you there and to curate a little bit. So what would mean to have the default columns? That's even more important to think about the context of use now in mobile. It's not true that it's exactly the same usage as desktop. I'm pretty sure it's something else. You want to quickly check something, you want just a price because I'm on the roads. So that means a lot more research on what the data the people want, because you don't know, and maybe create different views, personalized view on people, and that's what I think default
Mm,
could come from. So if you let people create their own defaults or their own preferred or favorite views, you can learn from that and then create better defaults. If you find out that 80% of people are customizing your data table with these columns, who are you to impose the columns to them?
hmm
So on mobile, I would research a little bit more on the real context of use. I mean, you have to go out and go meet people in the real world and see actually what you're doing when they're doing more, something on mobile, and ask people what they do. So,
Yeah.
and that means less column, and maybe you can fit it in the mobile version and don't have to horizontally scroll things. But that's what I mean. But card use kind of smart. Switch between. So, what did you share?
Oh, yeah, I just
Yeah,
shared a
sure.
ClickUps pattern for advanced filtering or like query building. I just put a layout, the layout here, and then
Yeah.
the actual interaction beside it.
A
So
query
it kind
builder
of,
is kind of a go-to solution here, right?
yeah, I think so. Um, because I think we can assume like you can't, like we'll just say explicitly you can't do this in a filter dropdown.
No, please
Let's
do.
just we can just, it's like too hard. That would be, maybe if you have so much budget and like devs that are obsessed with efficiency
Mm,
in real estate, maybe you can.
yeah,
But I think it's
it's
really
rare.
freaking hard. Yeah.
Well, you're putting a kind of warm them, when you're adding another component, another layer on top of the pop-up on the table. So there's only the original sources of data. Then you have a pop-up, and then you're adding something on top.
Yeah.
What's important for a filter query builder, I think, it's not true that user all know what they need to input in that query builder. They kind of need to discover it while they're building their query.
Yeah, and so I guess one thing I would also want to know
Mm,
with something like this is like I know that um there are a lot of people looking at data who actually know a little bit about building a query in code.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like, so I just think about Jira's solution to this. They
mm.
have like a markdown style that they do, and then they're like, okay, just learn it. You guys are codish. So learn it, and it'll be the most efficient way to like find the thing, and they expose to you what the query is in code as you build it. Um, so I'd kind of be curious about, it's if thens, maybe building up that logic like piece by piece like that. Maybe that's the best way to organize it in your mind. But I'd also be curious about like natural language. Like, could you just be like, show me all blah blah blah, and things without this, and I don't know.
Well, the query builder is a, how I love this subject.
You do.
It's it's strange how people don't know how to search online in general, using n and or and minus and things like that. But they don't want to learn about it. They just want, the tool to give the best answer. And so we could, train them, and every university have ton of librarians that just go around classes and teach them how to use a query builder. And when they are done with university, they forget about how to build a query builder or build a good query. So it's a hit and miss every time you're doing a query builder. It's look powerful, it's good, but not that many people are using it. And so if you're giving them just a piece of, a big in text field where they can input some code, an advanced query builder could solve a lot of problems, and leaving them to this little powerful tool. And now we have a couple of things we can add. It's true, natural language, asking, filter GPT kind of things, where you can say, I want just show me just aspirin and this drug, but not this drug. Could be done very easily. But at the base of it, it's a query. So it's a
It
query on
is.
top of it. So my question at
Exactly.
UI is it a companion, or we're stopping everything that they're doing, imposing a model, and let them, enter a couple of values, hit apply, see the result, rinse and repeat, or a little bit more organically? That's what I'm not sure
Yeah.
here.
So do it like a flow versus um, organically. Yeah. Because the nice
And
thing, there's upsides and downsides to either one of those
yeah.
approaches, I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like if you do it like a flow, you're like, okay, buddy, you're gonna focus on this now. Right? And then the person goes, okay. And and you have a real estate for it, and it's like a focused moment.
And you
Um,
you cannot, keep the context.
yeah,
If you add in inputs or values, you cannot see the reaction of it, and you cannot play with that. It's just
exactly.
focusing on input. And it's maybe wrong. Maybe you will react to the results
Yeah.
and say, "Oh, now I need this and this and that." So yeah, it's good, but we're forcing the user. We're controlling it.
Yeah, you don't get as much of that instantaneous feedback from it.
Yeah, and the pros. What are the pros here?
The pros for doing it like a flow
Mm,
is just I think just the focus part of it.
focus part.
And like ability to use a bunch of real estate and feel,
Mm,
you know, luxurious in the real estate. Because the thing with like query builders is they always sort of need to grow
mm.
because you're building it like logic by logic piece. Um, so
Well,
that would be the advantage, I'd say.
by the way, the term flow here, I always feel awkward about it, because the flow is, you're in the flow, you're going there,
Yeah.
there, and there, and it's more steps kind of experience, I think.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Yeah. So step by step, not a wizard, but a step by step kind of thinking, just to be sure for people watching. Um,
Hmm.
versus organically, the pros and cons. Well, it's harder to design for something organically, because now there's a couple of things happening. You display this little box, and they're all dynamic and they play together well. Um, it's a little bit more complicated to do that, I think. But the good thing is you have your hands in the machine, and when you poke at something, you see reaction, and you can see that. And so if you need to be quick about it, It could be fun because, oh, I see that. Ding, ding. Yes, no. Ding, switching, applying, toggle, yes, adding. And then you have your answer pretty. I don't know if it's quicker.
It's more seamless. Like it
It's more
doesn't
seamless.
feel. It feels smoother and more organic.
But it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Feasibility is, you have to think about it. You need all the components already ready in your system.
And it assumes a certain way that the data works, like that it
Oh,
can load instantaneously, right?
could be slow. It's true.
Instantaneously. To do it right, instantaneously. That's the hardest word in the dictionary.
Good. What else? I think it's good. That's good. Um, but I will say just leave the innovation of natural language or machine learning type of things aside, just to go back to the basic of filtering the table in the pop-up. But we can open doors like that,
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, we can. We can go ham on it. We're like, and then innovate and like build this thing that's never existed. They're like, I'm trying to like release this. Like, stop it.
I want a Siri for my data table.
Yeah.
Data. We're Canadian. Should we say data or data?
I say both.
You say both.
Yeah.
We have to choose now that we have a
I know.
voice and
I say
tone
data
document.
more.
Data, yeah.
Yeah, data more.
Okay, good. So I think it's enough. Let's go to the solution then. Let's build an as is.
Okay.
I'll build a window because it's a window.
Okay.
Let's build a pop-up on the side that slide out. Maybe like that. Oh, thank you. That's better. Let's give him a mean of interacting with it. Close. Yeah, title. This is a pop-up with references. Good. And now let's do a table with whimsical, and we know we'll be asshole.
Oh
It's
god.
good. It's not bad. It's great. It's great.
It's great.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Yeah, I can tell you really believe that.
No, it could be done. It's not very flexible. That's the thing.
Yeah. This is
So
fair.
and let's assume there's just one data table.
Okay.
Can I do a header? No. Okay, good. That's good. So I'll do a header here. Put it like that. Okay, so filtering. So columns, no columns, by columns, not by columns.
Hold on.
And they're sorting and filtering also.
Yeah.
Alfonso is asking a question. You want me to read it for you? What are your thoughts about saving filters like templates to save time for user for the Yeah. Oh yeah, saving
Love
filters. Well, let's talk about it.
I love them. I love that as an option. I worked on a product where there was like a workflow of this, basically the same table. You did a lot of different things on, step 1 versus step 2. But people would do an advanced kind of filtering thing, or filtering and sorting, and they would have to like prep that same table every single time they opened it. And so it actually accounted for a lot of work and like waste of brain power. So I was rallying for saving the settings, the viewing settings in that session, and also just saving those filtering combinations, filtering and viewing combinations of the table. It's just a lot more efficient.
Oh, it's so efficient. And for a business point of view, this is real insights that you can use. I don't know why it's not, a report somewhere where, what people are filtering with. And can I use that? Again, we talked about it to create, the next default. please just tell me what it is. And so I can even, create the data table in the right way. So filter is saving them. It's kind of a research team that's working while you're sleeping.
The research team working while you're sleeping.
um, but really for real. And so they are more like cool. It's the edge. So if
Mm,
most of your workforce is filtering things for that, you could say many things. You could say good, but you forgot about this, and that. So you're creating a library of other filters. You can share filters that you use, the most used filters, and this is where marketplaces of templates did done by the crowd. The wisdom crowd can be wow, because I don't know. I know I will just filter what I think it's better. But if you have the filters and you can show that, share that to the world in your company, you can say, someone has a good way of filtering this data that's just smart about it because they spend a couple of hours and using it and sharing it is just you know time gain, on anyone. And people can even branch and fabric. So you can even save your own filters that you love and you can switch. This is real enterprise UX. No, the job is not just to display information. We're done
yeah.
that. We've done that. Now let's use people and now we can even say, a robot saying that this is the filter you should use. And you can compare. So
Yeah, totally. And I think as well, it can be really hard, especially in enterprise software, where you're really trying to understand those use cases from all of those personas and you're trying to get people to articulate them and stuff like that. And it's not that they're being a bad user or interviewer
oh,
or anything like that. It's like these things are organic in themselves, they change. As your data evolves, maybe you're using different data sets, maybe there's a lot of things happening, and it can expose those like real things that how people are using things.
not the one that people came up in a meeting later
Yeah,
back and say, what should we put there? Yeah.
exactly. So it's like the real world usage, it's huge insights into that.
Alfonso is thanking us for the answer. Yeah, good.
Hey,
So
no
filters
problemo.
do them. It's I think it's the same thing for sorting also. Uh,
I think so too. I kind of
mm,
think of it as just the whole view you're saving. Like it
filtering,
is filters,
sorting,
but
number of items by page, type of view, switching for cards to table. I want to save that, create my own default, switch between them. Because now your job is not to control the experience, but give them the tools so they can build their own experience. And that's powerful. Okay, going back to
okay.
whimsical. So I think it's a layer on top of it. We've kind of agree on it. And so if we have a big button filter, filter that, filter, filter, whatever it is. For example, we have zero filter applied. That's the basic thing I can think of. I think. Do you have
Yep.
any idea? And then control, not control, steps, flow, model that will, or organic. What way?
I'm
Or
tempted to just overlay it on top of the table, push the table down.
push
What
the
about
table
you?
down. Well, if it's a query builder, it could be bigger. So in a pop-up, I would say a model, but that can be moved. But
Oh, interesting. What do you call that? Just a dialogue.
a
I
dialogue.
I've also wondered, but maybe this is just like a constraint of SaaS that are built, like in the browser. But
Mm.
I've always wondered why we don't have a few more window type of
Oh,
interactions going on. Don't you think?
yeah. Well, what about having a operating system?
What?
Just well,
What are you saying? Oh
yeah.
God.
Well, it's an OS when you think about it. What we're trying to replicate is an OS. An OS have a couple of windows, a couple of dialogues that play together. It's hard in SaaS, it's harder in web, but that's the goal. And if you have an operating system, you have all this that can play together. So think about your Mac OS Windows, where you can, yeah, I have all this I can use another display and
Or like the Adobe products, right? Like that's how they work. They have dialogues like within the interface in a way that's not it's not like disruptive, or it's not a
mm,
modal window. It's a
exactly.
just a container.
I kind of like this because it's not, I kind of like it, but it's hard to do. Is it hard to do
I don't
technically?
know. It's like no one's yeah. I don't
No,
even know if
no.
it's hard. I've never really asked a developer.
Mm,
Um it seems like yeah, there's a few different kind of like mechanisms that we don't really use that I've wondered about. But I mean pop up on a pop up or dialogue on top of a other thing that's open. I
mm.
never know exactly what guidance um, to give there because sometimes I've used products where it kind of makes sense, and then other times I've used it where I'm like, remember Squarespace? At least back in the day, they had like it was like modal.
Uh,
They had a little pile up going.
so there's a difference between a model and the dialogue that we may need to talk about. Um, yeah. Anyway, so what do you think? We block it with a model, or on the other hand, we facilitate the conversation or interaction between the different part of the UI.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, your idea of having it on top of the table is, you know, the re- the user send a request and have this feedback to the user right away, right?
Hmm.
So let's try that, okay?
Okay.
And if we can put it in the dialogue, that's good. Let's try that.
Okay.
Um, so let's duplicate it and see what happens if we add a filter, maybe something like that. So now it's focus. Can we focus? It's whatever. Changing. It's now in yellow, whatever it is. And now we're having a classic query builder.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll let you build the query builder.
Well, I'll just get some of the components together because I always get confused on what to call things.
What do you
You
mean?
know, well, it's like uh, value. Let's see. I'm just looking at the ClickUp one again, where priority is filter. So they use the word where, and then they say blank is not blah blah blah. So it's so they're
So that's the classic. It's and we're not building a fully fledged query builder when we can say this and this, group this, or this and this. I think it's too much right now.
okay.
So a classic.
Should I just say drug name then?
Hmm. No, because it could be multiple columns, right?
It could. The only use cases they're giving us is around drugs.
But I call drugs is a
Oh
column
yeah.
right now.
Yep.
So I would say just the first one is a drop down with columns. Let's add the columns. I don't know what, and could be select, and the default is, and the value is value. That's it. Um,
Okay. Yeah. Right.
and what
Okay.
we
That's
can do is add a little add, make it small, or make it
yeah.
here, and then you can add that add. That means that if we're adding and doing another one, we have remove.
And they usually have a qualifier. Um. Well, tell me what you think because you're super nerdy on this.
As soon as you put n, you will want or, and you want to group things.
Yes, but I think that is what they're doing. They're
Um,
actually doing it in one query. So it says, I want drugs both leproprofil and aspirin.
so they're creating group this and that. but they're not saying aspirin or this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
so I would assume that everything is and.
Okay.
If you want to add or, you can do that. But now I'm not sure it will be possible to put that in a pop-up. That's where the dialog will be better at it,
Yeah, that's true.
I think.
Um, so let's just think of these would be a bit shorter, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Let's remove it.
Because what they're so I think that let me just bring those queries over
I was
because I
about to
don't know
do that.
why. I love doing things the hard way, but maybe let's take a break from that. And this is exactly why you need reference things while you're in your workflow, like our drug user here.
You want to say drug user?
Yep. Okay. I want drugs. It just says it so many times.
What you want is free drugs. That's it.
Yes. I want
Uh,
drugs.
yeah, it will
Yes. Okay.
definitely be popular. People get it for free. Um,
So you got this selected. Are you going to do something?
no, I was thinking.
No? Okay. What about question for you? I think question for you plus. Um. Oh, where are you going?
Well, you want to put it on top of the table, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking about actually the way. Oh, okay. But
Yeah, please. I did
sorry, I'm
something
just trying
wrong,
to
boss.
work. No. I'm just trying to look. We'll just make sure that I totally get the logic. These are different specific
Oh,
scenarios.
yeah, I see what you mean. Okay.
One, two, three,
Well,
four. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, I'll put this here, and then that'll make a cohesive line. But we're saying
no, we will. So
that
let's do the first one. The first one is very simple. Let's just duplicate it so we can reuse it. So the first one is I want a drug is aspirin,
yeah,
right? So
but
it's
it's
like
also
that.
exact
Well,
name.
so they could leave it like that if they want to,
Yeah.
or is exactly this. And you can have a list of I want this, I want to this that start with, that end with, that is exactly with. I think we have something in Mac OS when
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
what? Okay.
Yeah.
I have. Oh, I didn't install Azul. Oh, yeah. In a Finder, open just a Finder. I'll open a Finder, and
Yeah,
you
I'm
can.
doing it.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah.
Kind. So is I just put cool. I just started with my search of cool files. I knew that wouldn't be confidential.
No. Okay. So last open and all, and is can you just a screenshot of is any?
hmm
But you can say is exactly start with end with all of this. So that's the first one, and I'll do the next one. I want drugs that contain. Oh, that here it is.
Oh,
I
is
want,
kind is any. So image, JPEG, and then plus.
contain.
You know, I do have a few files called cool. I'm really wondering what those are. But it grows like kind of contextually according to the thing that you're going to work on. So,
And then I want drugs both. Okay, good. So let's do both.
oh yeah, that's the qualifier thingy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we actually call that something specific in our filter articles, and I always forget what the actual jargon is for it. Sorry, Fanny.
So
Is exactly aspirin. Okay, yes. So I only wanted an aspirin. Drug contains aspirin. I want drugs, both blah 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 and blah blah blah. So I think these are like different situations,
Exactly, they are just different.
right? So you don't. I was like, do we have to combine all of these? Oh no. I guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I did a query builder Boolean logic-y thing before
Ooh,
that
what's
did
that?
grouping as well. It's just harder to like pull off, I think.
Well, yeah, but I don't understand why people want to create a query builder from scratch. There is query builder out there already, very
Yep.
good at. So the syndrome it's not invented here can be applied for query builder too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that looks good. You got to be able to remove this bottom one too, right? Does
True.
this remove?
You're right. You're right. So let's duplicate it and put it here and add. Well, I love that the add is here. It's taking less space.
I like that too. It feels like when you prototype it and feel the interaction, it's like more satisfying because right where you clicked, like a thing appeared there and took up a bunch of space. You're like, yeah, I did that.
4. Done. So now what do, you apply it, or as soon as you enter this information, it's already applied?
I mean, if I had all the my wishes in the world, it would be sort of instant,
Mm.
or if
It's in
you
the
can't.
pop-up, by the way. Don't forget that.
Yeah, exactly. So
Do you
there's a
want it?
lot of things loading.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh yeah, no. This is not what I mean.
Oh,
That's a good point. It's just you want something quick. It's a reference. So so applying a query builder on top of a pop-up, it's kind of slow.
it feels
So
like steps, right? It
it
feels
feels
like,
like. So yeah,
yeah.
I would just say that you have here 2, 4 things like that, and we can add a chevron. Sorry, like that. And now it's open. Let's use another
Nice.
one.
So you're just going to expand collapse.
Exactly.
That's nice.
And hold that. I'll add one here.
I also see a convention too where you do it kind of short form in the collapse state where you could be like, I'll just show you a version. That sort of thing.
What? Where are you?
Oh, I was just showing. So in the
Oh
case
yeah,
where
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So one guidance piece that we talk about for filters is
Hmm.
like if you have filters that are active, being like these are the filters that are active. Hey, buddy, even if you're, you know, um, so I would say if you have this idea of like expanding and collapsing here in the collapse state, we still could have like a bit of copy that's telling you the filters that are applied and maybe the number of results um, that you got from there.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a delightful something. No, is it a must-have? It's a should. It's a
I would
should.
say the expanding and collapsing is nice to have,
It's true.
and then the
That's true because you couldn't. You may not need filters just on top of it, and you're just adding one after the other. Why not?
yeah, it's just like a space efficiency thing, I think,
Yeah, it's true.
right? So
Yeah.
like it's nice to
I
just
think we
collapse
agree
them.
on it, and it's
Yeah.
good. I think it's good to a slow, small query builder. So I'm ready to synthesize all of this, summarize all of this. If you're okay with it.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show the collapse state quickly. if that's all okie dokie with you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You gonna take it away, Benoit, or do you want me to?
Oh, what do I? Oh, I have a couple of things to do while you're doing that.
Ah, okay. Do you want to collapse the menu in Whimsical on the left?
Done.
Thank you. Thank you. Just so peeps can see all the stuff. Are you ready for this wrap up? Okay. All right. So our close personal friend, user 80595, is having a problem and they wanted a little bit of help. A little bit of help from the peanut gallery, and we're here. We're here to help, buddy. So the data table that they're dealing with is in like a drawer kind of mechanism, and it's opening up over top of a UI. So they have some needs around kind of advanced filtering or queries, which they're expressing here around, exact name contains this name, that sort of thing. And so what they're originally um, working working on is like trying to handle it basically in a filter drop down within a column. And so they're trying to get all of this information in there. And so what they're trying to ask and find out a little bit more is like, is this how you do it? And also help. So to start with, we got into the problem statement as we do. So after a few jokes, we came up with this one. As a clinical user of enterprise UX, I'd like to acquire contextual references as I'm looking at things that may enhance my comprehension. So we're making a bunch of assumptions there on what they're doing. All we can think of for opening a table like on top of an interface is probably that this is reference information and it's going to be supplementing, enhancing, augmenting whatever viewing and like information and understanding they are doing already. So when we got into assumptions and thoughts and approach and just kind of wrapping our head around this problem, we're like, yeah, it's a small query builder. We got that right out of the gate. Benoit's passion for query builders came out. We need a bit of syntax. We questioned kind of the ability to do this with columns, with a column filtering kind of pattern, because it gets really super usery, and using the column filtering, it's really efficient around real estate, but actually adding a bit more functionality to it's really tough because you don't have any space. We also talked about like defaults and things like that. Is there anything that can sort of be helpful to actually rendering the table in the first place that you could apply? Query builder, yes, query builder, obsessed with it. So we kind of debated back and forth, okay, do we do this sort of like a step-by-step thing that we enforce for people to kind of go into a new view and look at stuff? We weighed out the upsides and downsides of doing that compared to doing it organically, where it's in the same view that they have right now and you're just like doing some stuff. So the upside for doing it in more of this flow or step-by-step style is that you get a lot of real estate and you get the person's focus. But the downside is that you have less discoverability around the cause and effect of what you're doing to your data. So you can't see it right away. You like have to press enter and that kind of thing. With organically, the iteration is a bit more seamless, so you can see things updating. It feels a little bit easier or like faster, more expedient. The downside is that it could be harder, and it really assumes that the data can load instantaneously, right? In our ideal experience. So as it's like you're doing stuff and new things are showing up and giving you more feedback. Our buddy online asked us about, saving filters. Is that cool? What's the deal? What do you guys think? And
It is cool.
it is cool. Yes. It's research while you're sleeping. It's saving users doing the same repetitive action again and again. And there's so many great reasons to think about, preserving context of how people are viewing things,
Oh, yeah.
especially when you don't know every single persona. You can't watch people all day and what they're doing, because they get wild. You never know what people are going to do. So this is our kind of attempt at solving it that we came up with. So here we've got our page, whatever it's doing, we're not sure. The table itself is coming up in this overlay, or this drawer kind of mechanism or slide in. What we do to initiate the interaction is hit this filters button here. It always is going to show you feedback on how many filters are applied as well. That's an assumption that goes into any of these guys. And then as you work through it, we mapped out how a query builder could actually work. So first of all, you select the columns, then you select this qualifier here, like is, contains, like the level of specificity that you want for the more granular value that you're going to put here. So we did that over and over for each of the situations. So the drug is exactly this, contains this, combining two pieces of logic with the idea that you can kind of continually add more and more, I guess, aspects of your query on top of each other. And to kind of mitigate this dynamic of the table going down to accommodate the vertical space for that query that you're building, we also thought about the ability to expand and collapse the filters overall. So we have that ability there, and when it is collapsed, we'll have a bit of a short form description of what filters are currently applied and what they've kind of resulted in. Good one on the clear. So we also wanted that to be super easy. Oh, you know what? We could actually even put it here. We wanted it to be super easy always to show the state that the system is in, system status, really cool heuristic, and to allow you to undo it, basically. So that would be, that's our nice to have part at the end to optimize the viewing of this table.
I don't know how to end this. We filtered all the bad jokes.
We did filter all the bad jokes.
Sorry.
We never did. It's not even possible. It's a renewable resource that we have at pencil and paper. I think. Yes. But with anything, we would be testing this.
We would test
Let's just get that out there.
Imagine also adding, on top of this or replacing it with natural language like you proposed at the beginning, just type it, type your filters. And would be things I would love to see, to test, just to, And well, the big challenge will be to maybe modify it, things like that. But it's not impossible. I've seen that with tags or things like that. So yeah, a good query builder. I think we'll have to write a good article about query builder in general. In the meantime, we have a bunch of good articles on pencilandpaper.io. Please check them out. Subscribe to the newsletter so you'll be notified when we have new ones. We have a couple of courses. We have a heuristic series that you can watch. I think it's next week. We'll talk about user control and freedom. We'll give examples. We'll talk about it. We'll dissect this heuristics. And again, thank you, Kira. If you have any problem like that, please send it to us. We'll happily work on it. Again,
wonderful.
Kira, that was fun.
Thank you. That was great.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm just searching for a button to say end.